While coal accounts for about 40% of global emissions, it's cheap, it's abundant. But one coal company has been driving down its impact and has been doing so way before sustainability became the buzzword. And of course, it is Banpu. Kunsom, good to have you with us. Give us a sense of the thinking behind the sustainable journey, because it's been going on for decades now.
Yes, it's about 4 decades actually. We just celebrate our 40 years anniversary last month. And we start with a very, very small coal mine in the northern part of Thailand. At that time, our founders foresee that the energy for Thailand, coal, probably be cheaper and better than oil at that time. And then he foresee that in the future, there will be the needs to diversify. And that's where we come from, about coal diversify to power generation, gas generation, and energy technology. But at the fundamental of everything, we grow up with coal. So we know that we need to pay gratitude to the earth. That's why we have been thinking that whatever we dig out from the coal, from the ground, from the earth, we have to pay it back. The way that we pay back is to the people surrounding the area. And that is when environmental, social responsibility is not yet there, but the thinking of our founder, Kun Chaimongkol, has foreseen that that is how we should conduct our business.
What's been the transformation like? How do you get the whole company, a company of 6,000 people, on board?
At the beginning, we only think about Thailand, and therefore we focus in Thailand. However, Thailand is not a resource country, unlike Indonesia, China, or the US. So we have been thinking whether it should be India or it should be Indonesia or China. So at that time, with the support from the government, we decided to go to Indonesia first because it's abundant of resources, and then China because it's abundant of resources and also the customer of coal as well. But when we are seeing coal growing larger and larger, we believe that we can't stick with coal. The sustainability gonna play more and more important role. So when we came into I think around 2013, we see that sticking with carbon-based product will not last long. Disruption is coming. So we decided to go for renewable product like those of solar farm, wind farm. And in 2019, that we believe that just selling product and services is no longer a trend to the future. We need to do something like an ecosystem or platform, and we established Banpu Next to provide a total energy solution for everyone with the mission to make it a sustainable energy to the better living of the people.
Total energy solution, what does that necessarily mean? So it's not just energy, but also electric vehicles, e-ferries?
That's correct. We can say like transforming from selling product into experience. We are doing everything from upstream, midstream, downstream. Those are selling product to produce electricity, and energy is the most important to every economy. We stick with the reliability of the energy. We stick with the affordability of the energy because each part of the world cannot afford the same price of the energy. Those two came first, affordability and reliability. But when we come to the renewable, we believe that just selling renewable is going to be a red ocean. Every country, every people can play in the energy world. If you look back like 20, 30 years, Thailand, we only have about 4 companies doing energy, but right now we have more than 30 companies. So we have to do something different. We move away from Thailand to other companies, and we move away from selling upstream coal, rare earth, gas, to midstream, like producing electricity from gas-fired generation, And eventually, we look into all of these technology, make it a total solution to net zero as a platform, from a solar roof generation or floating solar generation to the energy storage and e-mobility, and even the recycle of all of those waste management. We can transform all the food waste, other waste, back into the energy or some other usage as well. So we provide a whole cycle of the total energy solution as an ecosystem and platform.
You talk about moving away from coal. Give us a sense of how much coal is still in the business and what is its target. And I'm just wondering whether the eventual end would be a full exit from coal.
If we talk today, I would say coal remain about 50 or very close to 50. But by 2025, we are planning that the green and greener and smarter business of Banpu will become higher than 50%. And by 2030, it's going to be increased more than that. This is called a transformation that Banpu made. And when we made decision relating to transformation, we thinking about how we can be responsible to our customer, to our people who still need to use coal. That's why we didn't go like a zero fix at the beginning. We still keep coal, but we decided not to invest in coal since 2015. It's already 9 years now. And gradually we transform into other energy that is greener and smarter, including gas, that we believe the size of the gas, the scalable of the gas can replace coal in the future. And I have to mention thank you to Bangkok Bank, who helped us transform right from the day one until today. So I feel grateful for all of those. Thank you, Ka.
Thank you, Kun Chatsri, for the support. Is the eventual goal, though, is to be zero coal? Would we be here in 10, 20 years talking about Banpu not being a coal producer?
We look at the prediction of the energy consumption for the whole world. We see that even by 2050, 27 years from now, coal will remain at least 20%. So what we did is that gas will increase to about 30%, and the renewable will also increase to about 40%. So what we do is following that trend. We remain the coal portfolio as is. By keeping it as is, it will be reducing proportionately while we are growing gas, while we are growing renewable. And another thing that I didn't mention is there will be a lot more technology on our energy technology business model, including the carbon capture storage that will make the world greener, smarter, and faster.
You've made acquisitions in the US, I think gas assets. Is there an intention to perhaps accelerate your acquisitions in the US?
Certainly, according to the forecast, as I mentioned, once we stop investing in coal, the only energy that is large enough to catch up and create growth for our business has to be gas. And when we look throughout the world, we believe the US has a better policy compared to others and an easier upstream unconventional gas, meaning the conventional easy one, the large guy, the giant company has already taken it already. So the rest is something we call fracking technology, and it is easier for Banpu to expand. If we talk from 2015 up until now, about 8 to 9 years, we have invested almost 1.3 billion to gas in the US, and it's going to be more and more.
What's more and more? Give us a sense of the amount and maybe a span of 12 to 24 years, 12 to 24 months. What can be expected?
From now until 2025, currently we earmark around 2 to 2.5 billion. and about 60% will go to gas and gas-fired generation, plus the carbon capture utilization storage in the U.S. This is the aim to make our gas production in the U.S. become net zero by itself as well. But I mentioned the U.S. because the policy of each country is different. We can do this net zero in itself from the gas generation because of the support from the government. But if we talk to other governments, it might be various.
Apart from the US, are there other countries, perhaps in Asia, that you may be exploring such ventures?
We have a very good establishment in Indonesia, and we have our colleague from Indonesia who is expert in gas here as well. We look at Indonesia as a gas country going forward, but it might not be similar to in Texas, where we exist now in the US, because it could be more difficult. Instead of producing gas as an upstream, we might look into the total value chain of the gas supply, like the pipeline, like other things, up until the net zero gas generation.
Give us a sense of where you see the energy mix in Thailand headed.
Coal certainly will be reducing very, very fast, and but mostly they don't do coal-fired anymore in Thailand, but they still buy from neighboring country. That is to top up what Thailand lacks. Otherwise, the tariff will be skyrocketing. So there, according to the power development plan, they have higher in terms of gas generation. So that's the trend. But even with that gas generation trend, Thailand also committed to 2050 carbon neutral or 2065 of net zero. So the promotion of green energy by Thailand, of course, renewable by gas-fired, coal-fired, by the renewable of solar farm, wind farm, solar roof, and the floating solar will be more and more popular.
Do you think Thailand is likely to stay the course as it tries to put a new prime minister in place? Does it matter who comes to government?
I believe in Thailand as an institution, so whoever be the government, the first priority is the better living for the people. Therefore, they will keep all of the important energy policy, number one, because it's the engine for the growth of Thailand. So I strongly believe that Thailand can grow steadily with the lead of any government who will come into play.
Kun Som, for those trying to make the transition, whether it's from coal or another energy, what would be your call to action? What does it take? What must be done first to get this journey started?
You asked about people. When we grow up to close to 6,000 people, so that has to come first. Our people will need to have one goal, one team. So we have our Banpu heart, and every day we think about Banpu as a never normal company. We face the peak and the valley. We have a good time, we have a bad time, but we promise to be a good ESG company. With the good governance, I believe everyone can help Banpu when we get into the valley. And when we are up to peak, we try to stay long enough to the peak. And every day is a never normal, meaning we will have to prepare ourselves ready for any disruption. And the ESG is a mantra to our company that with ESG, no matter disruption will be coming, it's gonna be our opportunity, and it's gonna be our gift because it's gonna give us a lot of learning. And if Banpu can do it, every company can do it.
You talk about the valley a few times. What were some of the challenges that the company has had to overcome?
I've been with Banpu for 40 years, so I have been together with the company since the inception. So the worst one is the Asian financial crisis, which is the Tom Yam Goong crisis that people call. That is the most difficult one that we need support from many stakeholders, including the bank. And the recent pandemic crisis is also a heavy one, but with the pandemic crisis, we already have digital transformation. So to us, it's been easier. But if I can look back, I think the largest gifts that I've got is the Asian financial crisis, because I learned so much from that.
I know that there were plans to list on the New York Stock Exchange. Is that happening? Will it happen this year?
We hope to be within the second half of this year, but that depends very much on the external factors, the Fed meeting, as you have heard, and also we try to look for a great shareholder to work together with us as well. And the plan is actually hopefully for the second half of this year. But if it will slip a little bit forward, it will not impact us at all. But if we can grow it faster, then we can be greener and smarter faster.
We can't talk to the biggest coal producer in Thailand without asking about coal and the outlook for prices. We've seen prices ease somewhat. Where do you see prices going, and what assumptions are you making about demand?
We have seen an extraordinary high coal price last year, in which unexpected, and it produced a lot of cash flow for us to reinvest in the green business faster. But coming to this year, we have already the price falling because it is commodity. Currently, it stands at around $128 per ton. With the current demand and supply, I believe that with the current price, 120, 128, or even 100, the coal company still be in a good shape because the cost doesn't vary much. If we look at how we produce coal in Indonesia, in Australia, or even in China, the cost cutting, the cost management is something that we can influence. So that is the part that we can accept any never normal of the coal price. I can't say what will it be, but
if you were to hazard a guess, just throw a number out there.
100 should be good. But at any price, I can't say what the price will be, but at any price, I can promise that we're going to make profit.
Where is the biggest demand coming from?
Mostly from China, especially after the pandemic. A lot of business has emerged or emerged larger than we thought. And it's also, we can see another large country like India. This India and China, I mentioned affordable according to the sustainability of the energy. Affordable to India, affordable to China, and affordable of energy to the Western world are different. Therefore, the growth engine as energy in China, Indonesia, in the next few years, we still be a coal base.
Just one final question before we let you go. We talk about getting to net zero. Given everything we've seen, given the macro environment, given the rising geopolitical tensions, are you optimistic we'll get to net zero?
I could say for Banpu that we are optimistic to get to a net zero because we have so many plans. We have a few teams dedicated to do the net zero according to our ESG net zero planning. We make forecasts until the year 2030, 2050, and see what kind of portfolio that we need to have to make a net zero offset, to make a greener business in the portfolio. And if we still cannot reach to the net zero at the year that we target, what can we do? There will be a new technology like CCUS, and I believe there will be more and more technology like CCUS happening in the future. So that's why I believe in achievable of the net zero.
A coal company headed to net zero. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Kun Som. Thank you very much.